You have 30 minutes to hide a USB drive in your house. Your house will then be raided by police, detectives, and some FBI agents all searching for the USB. Where do you hide it so that it won't be found? Heat up the bottom of one of my jar candles until I can slip the wax out. I've done it before. Hollow out a space in it, put it in, and put the whole thing back in the jar. I'm deceased. Silver. I've done it before. If anyone asks, I just meant getting the wax out of a jar. Honest. Only question is, what were they hiding? This is a fairly common way to ship small amounts of drugs. I wouldn't rely on the cops being unaware of that one. The last time I flew, I took home a candle and got searched and swabbed by security. This makes a lot more sense now. Makes a lot more sense now. Thanks for the silver. I've finally done something valuable. In the handle on my oven door, the screw loosened and one side fell down. When I went to fix it, I noticed it was hollow. You could probably fit 15 in there. Was thinking between the glass of the oven door. I recently discovered I can access that space between the glass. If I could do that, I would print and insert a picture of a clean oven interior. Print a face and hands trying to escape of a child. Gingerbread houses, you know. Better yet, use thermal reactive paper/ink. Make it look normal when cold, but once the oven gets to 350 F, make it show an image. I can only imagine that right now somewhere in the world there is a group of FBI agents raiding a house, sweating, not being able to find a specific USB. Their boss is on their ass. Their last hope is to consult the all-knowing members of the r/AskReddit community. Come on, you bastards, come on. Sees note about assholes, looks at the family dog. Lieutenant? I've got an idea, but you're not going to like it. Confused dog face. Yip. Ruh-roh. Pull the latch plate off my door frame, chisel a slightly deeper hole, pop then USB in there and replace the plate. Who would ever think to look there? What if the FBI opens your door using the shotgun method? Then no flash drive for them and you go away scot-free cause it was the cops who destroyed the evidence. As long as the drive is firmly in place when they kick in the door, it shouldn't pop out. If it stays in place, they will have moved through the door so quickly they won't bother looking. If they use a shotgun to blast through the lock and plate, most likely they will end up destroying the device itself anyways. This is what you really have to look out for anyways. If I don't need easy access to it when they leave, I'll remove a wall outlet and push it through a hole on the back of the electric box into the wall cavity. Impossible to find without ripping out all the drywall, since there will be no evidence that it was put in there once I put the outlet back in. Do just this and the sniffer dog would have it in 10 minutes. Go one further, the police triumphantly find the chip, but continue searching from due diligence. The dog finds other chips, and again alerts officers to the original hide. Nothing inside. Extreme diligence runs the void finder and metal detector just in case. No holes, no metal save the screws holding perfectly normal drywall. Even careful measuring of the hide returns normal widths on everything. Diligence complete, officers take the chi back to the lab and find it heavily encrypted. Their office nerds are confident it can be cracked in a few months, may a year? They get to work. Office nerds then have an amazing rate of suicide over the next few years because the encryption is based on Depeche Mode music and they get too depressed to go on. The one Depeche Mode fan in the group succeeds but finds a second layer of encryption based on smooth jazz. PD has to hire a new group of lab nerds, thus never finding out the chip is merely a decoy. The actual chip is still in the carefully searched wall, behind the outlet box, covered by a normal-looking 2 half layers of drywall with cut-off screw heads over the chip. If somehow the officers do find it, there is a single unencrypted file with a nude photo of myself, thus anyone foolish enough to even look at it is permanently struck blind. All these replies and yet no one realizes that this was written by Dwight Schrute. I'm gonna wrap it in some plastic then down the pipe it goes. I was thinking a pill bottle. Pill bottle would be significantly harder to swallow. Oh. I was thinking literal pipe. Like hide it under a sink or something. But yeah, I see the original comment meant ingestion, lol. They're likely looking in there. Up my ass doesn't seem to be as popular a choice as I thought. Inside a cat shit in the litter box. Inside a cat. Smart, no one would ever open a cat's DVD box. Detective number 1, sir. We've searched everywhere except inside this DVD case. Detective number 2, seeing the title cats on the cover, damn, they must have destroyed the evidence before we got here. Detective number 1, but sir, shouldn't we take a loo dash? Detective number 2, I said they destroyed the evidence, damn it. Proceeds to light the DVD case on fire and buries it in the yard. Well, that gives me enough time to pop the circuit board out of the casing and just randomly solder it to a nondescript part of another piece of electronics in my house. I can then burn the casing. My CDT teacher would be so proud. Unless they're really good at their job, they're not finding it. I think this one might be the best answer, as no other answer addresses dogs trained to sniff out things like SD and USB drives. I'm not kidding. They bring them in on child porn cases where the evidence is often on a drive hidden away from the computer. Having the USB circuit board look like a piece of electronics on a random device, computer's gonna get confiscated, might work, as the device might trigger the dog, but the trainer think it is supposed to have a memory board. They find the one that is supposed to be there but don't find the hidden one. The key there is to litter the place with cheap storage media. Just have the dogs hitting on everything. Aha, the Raiders of the Lost Ark approach. Have as many false positives as you can get together, then hide the damn almost anywhere. They'll be so sick of the sight of USB drives they ain't gonna go looking for extras. I've had my house raided and they took almost every piece of electronic equipment. TVs, digital cameras, memory cards, remote controls, computers. Obviously, this was a computer hacking charge I did time in federal prison for, etc. They even dismantled some of the electrical outlets to look in the little metal box in the wall they're housed in. Based on what they didn't take, your best bet would be to pop the casing off of an oscillating fan or your microwave or something. There are common wall safes that are designed to look like outlets, not to mention how easy it is to just take a faceplate off of a switch or outlet and stick something in there. I wanna hear more of your story. Glued to the underside of my wheelie bin handle. There's a space right under it which should be enough for a USB drive. If they flip it over to rummage through the trash, then they'll be holding it with their hand. Either that or under the insulation inside my attic. I like the idea of them having it in their hand and not knowing it. You could take off a doorknob and put the drive inside the cutout. My yard, nobody goes in there and comes back alive. Your yard is peppered with landmines too / I see you are a man of culture as well. I see you are a man from Bosnia as well. I live in Bosnia. A month ago a guy stepped on a mine. My dog has explosive shit, you want him, he'll neutralize any target within a mile radius with the stench he produces from his ass. Absolute unit he is. Take out floating rubber ball thingy from toilet tank. Cut a slit in the bottom of the floating rubber ball thingy and shove it inside of that. Superglue the slit shut, and replace it? Fuck man, that's some high level thinking. Toilet tank is the first place they are gonna look. If that many of them are showing up, it's imminent danger stuff. They are def going to have an electronic sniffing dog. The dog steps into the house and just starts to fucking lose it at the TV. It's okay boy, pizza commercials always confuse you. Actually big brained meme, holy shit. Give it to my 4-year-old and say don't lose this, bud. Poop, that thing is gone for at least a year. This made me think of just putting it in a Nerf gun and shooting it in an empty room, those darts just disappear. Just tape it to a sock and then do the laundry. You'd have to pick the right sock though. The selection of what sock becomes a sacrifice to the laundry gods is not a process known to us mere mortals. Why not the left sock? Bury it in the insulation in the attic. It would take days to sift through it all to find a USB drive. The bonus would be that they'd find my tape measure that I lost a few years ago. I was finishing up a project in my attic last year, putting tools away, and couldn't find my tape measure, so I went back up and started digging around in the insulation to find where I left it. While doing that, a 2x4 I stepped on rolled on its side, dumping me off and sending me through the drywall and into my bedroom below. After I recovered, I looked across the room and saw my tape measure sitting on my dresser. It wasn't in the attic after all. My brother died last year, and substance abuse played a large part in his passing. He had a very successful business that he sold, so he was quite wealthy. At one point, he decided it was a great time to explore leveraging his position to buy Bitcoin. He borrowed $500,000 in December of 18 and bought Bitcoin. But he became paranoid when he started using Xanax heavily. He hid $25,000 in his house when he was wasted, and couldn't remember where. He told his housekeeper he'd give her $5,000 if she found it. She did, at the bottom of a box of Ziploc baggies. His final act of paranoia was to place all of his Bitcoin on an encrypted cold storage USB drive that he hid in the house. Several encrypted drives were found in the house, but nobody knows the password. He had a synchronized encrypted Apple Notes password file on his Apple devices, but nobody knows the password to that. So there is $1 million plus sitting on a USB drive, but no way to get at it. You might be able to get some of his devices unlocked by submitting a death certificate and proof of his estate to Apple. If he was using iCloud with an Apple ID, they may do it, but it's going to be a fairly hefty process. Interesting idea. Thanks. To clarify, they will give access to the Apple ID/iCloud account of the deceased to the registered executor of the estate. They'll need death cert, and you'll need to know the email address associated with the ID. You'll get full access to all cloud stored data, but it won't help you to unlock devices that are password. Give Apple Care a call and say you want to go through death of account holder procedures. Under the dead body in the freezer. Going by a lot of the responses I've seen, you'd be better off putting it inside the dead body's anus. I'm deceased. Take the batteries out of your mom's dildo and put it where the batteries were. What if the cop wants to use it? Even better. Well, I'm not about to be a rude host. I feel like swallowing it is too obvious. I'd make a decoy flash drive with a Bitcoin account password on it with a couple $100 in it. Then I'd put in a Tor browser link and some pictures of weed or something. I'd hide that flash drive without a case inside my Xbox, masquerading as part of the hardware. Then get the real USB and glue it to the underside of a fin on my outside A/C unit. I'm in Florida, so the A/C runs about 24/7. Hopefully they will find the decoy in the Xbox before they tear apart my A/C system. Anyone that's seen Dexter knows to look at the AC. Real talk, as there are dogs. I'd have 2 drives. One, I'd put in the plastic cavity of a favorite Transformers figure's arm/leg. This would be the first one they find, as it is usually in arm's length of my computer. They never hook them up in the field because of the dangers of things like USB killers. So chances are they'd be satisfied they found my hidden data. I would get brought in, questioned, held for as long as they could legally hold me without pressing charges, then released, and they'd need a new warrant to research. Which would take more than 30 minutes. And give me plenty of time to absolutely destroy the flash chip in the real drive. Which would be hidden, possibly in a wall panel or somewhere less obvious than right next to my computer. I'm very certain they don't stop searching after they find one USB. Imagine going to Jared Fogel's house, finding one USB and going, "We got him, boys." They would just seize the one they found, then keep searching. Climb onto the roof, about midway up the roof, lift an asphalt shingle and slide the USB stick in as far as I can. Press the shingle back down and then get off the roof and store the ladder. Good luck finding my data now. Then the police could ask people in neighboring houses if they saw you doing anything weird, and I would say climbing all over your roof definitely qualifies as suspicious behavior.